Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to The Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789. Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, Dr. Ashandra Batiste understands that one of the biggest obstacles is dental fear. The vision at Elite Dental Wellness is to ensure every patient is treated with respect, ultimate care, patience, and love. Call us today to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680.
Welcome back to Injustice on the Sphere TV, where we discuss the laws of the land and how they affect you, the people. I'm your host, Brennan Dunn. You can reach me on Twitter at LegalMind. That's mine with a Y, because there's always a question to be asked and answered. Joined as always by the illustrious Alicia Ford. How are you, Alicia?
I'm doing well, Brennan. How are you doing? Thank you all, and welcome back to Injustice on the Sphere TV. My name is Alicia Ford, your co-host here, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AllieOnSphere. And Brennan.
Yes, Alicia.
Do we have a guest today?
I believe we do. We
Very
have
well.
a wonderful young lady, Casey Handy-Smith, attorney at law. How are you, Casey?
I'm well. How are you?
I cannot complain now that you are here gracing our presence.
Well, I'm very glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Indeed. So, Casey is you are a business and entertainment lawyer,
Yes.
working the crowd all the time, right?
Yes, something like that. I try to stay out of or keep my clients out of the courtroom as much as possible. So. Do mainly a lot of transactional work.
Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, if you keep them out of the courtroom, it's probably guaranteed to be a better outcome. So keep up the good fight.
All right,
So,
absolutely.
Casey, I know you've never done this show with us before, so we're going to jump right into it. Feel free to say whatever is on your mind, and do not be afraid of Alicia.
Why would I be afraid of Alicia?
Because
She
she's
looks
got,
so polite.
you'll see. That's all I'm going to say, ladies.
I would just like to say that before you try to tarnish my reputation, people are allowed to form opinions of their own.
Absolutely.
And let's form some opinions about the topics, because that's what we're here for.
All right, Satan. I mean, Alicia. All right, so first things first, Casey. We're going to hop over to Tennessee. We like to go around the country and see what's going on.
Okay.
Over in Tennessee, there's a federal lawsuit going on that young lady by the name of Crystal Ward is filing suit in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee, citing that the policy for her prison time was unfair to her. Namely, they tried to control her by saying, hey, look, if you take these birth control pills, then we will reduce your sentence. So she ended up having a device placed in her arm for birth control. And the kicker is they didn't even reduce her sentence. So, and this has brought up an uproar within the community, citing that, hey, look, what you're essentially trying to do is force women into birth control as a means of parlaying that for reduced sentences, basically a pay-to-play type thing. If you want to get out, here's a way to get out, and here's this really controversial way to get out. I don't even know how they came up with this idea and thought somebody had to sit up there and be like, you know what? First, we're going to give them some birth control. No. Better yet, let's force them to get some birth control and tell them if they take it, then we're going to reduce their time.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, not even do what they said they were going to do. If I was a woman, I'd be enraged because I'm a man and I'm enraged. Ladies, what are your thoughts?
Go ahead.
So it's really it's just a really interesting topic, I guess. And like you said, I guess the big question is, whose idea was it in the first place to have this be, a way for a sentence to be reduced? And I don't know if you mentioned or if there's information out there that speaks to why they did not uphold their decision to reduce her sentencing for getting the birth control. Did the court speak to that at all, or?
I think they just wanted to keep bad women from being able to procreate.
Did you just say that?
That's my thought.
Oh,
I don't know.
I was just like,
I'm just saying. And what's interesting is that it was for misdemeanor people. So you're not even going after like the hard hitting,
like a
felonious
fella, like wait,
folks, but the misdemeanor
well,
folks.
I guess
and knocking off like 30. This was supposed to be like a 30-day reduction.
So even if, let's just in the stretches and recesses of our mind, imagine that something is okay for you to implement some kind of, IUD or whatever they call them device on me. What the hell? Like, I mean, in a fathom, I can only fathom you're saying like you have multiple charges of prostitution. We don't want you to have some like even that stretching the limitation. But if we're just talking about like, hey, for sentence reduction, you could go ahead and put this birth control in your arm. It is, again, a man trying to basically govern a woman and her reproductive rights in another shape, form, or fashion. It gets old. I am just coming to the conclusion that men have uterine envy. Like, I cannot think of anything else.
I love that.
I don't know what else. Like, they are preoccupied with our uteruses. And I think it kills them that they cannot create life.
Reproduce.
Well,
We are the ones that, I'm sorry.
We don't. Second of all,
so you're speaking for
I'm just saying.
You're speaking for all men right now.
Yeah,
all
can't
non-transgender
explain
women,
it.
or for all men who are not transgendered women type men, I don't even know how to say that properly, but the ones who want to switch over and become women, everybody else, I'm pretty sure that we don't have this uteral envy that you're talking about. I think we just want y'all to do better, and I think that this is supposed to be a means of bringing women to heal.
You want me to jump across this table? Like, do better? Like, are you serious?
I mean, so many of y'all are devastation to society. I think that if women learned how to just know their place, then maybe we wouldn't have to shut you guys down.
What in the world?
Bring the camera on me real quick.
Wait.
I'm completely full of shit right now. I just want everybody to know that none of what I just said reflects my own personal belief. But this is probably what's going on in the minds of the radicals who are actually trying to put this in place. Saying, look, we've got to do something. Surely I'm not going to snip myself. So I can't spite my own face and cut off my nose. So why don't I cut off your reproductive skills and try to curb some of your enthusiasm, so to speak? I don't know. I'm not the one arguing for it. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's preposterous. And I think that the people who did it should get a taste of their own medicine. However,
I'm sorry, you gonna sit there
and
give me, so wait, watch. If you're sitting there implanting devices telling me I can have kids, I better get more than 30 days off. Like, I need my entire sentence needs to be suspended.
Let's be fair though.
Like, wait a minute.
It's an IUD. It's not like it's a permanent fix.
I don't care.
So you can always snatch it off.
Why are you trying to put anything in me to stop me from having? Well, and
don't get in trouble.
It makes me think. It makes me turn to the notion that they feel as if some kinds of behaviors are somehow bred in society, because I can't understand why you're targeting, people who are felons who, after they serve their time, have a right to enter back into society and be functioning members giving back. If you've done your time for whatever crime it was, I don't have to keep paying with this if I decide to go have a family, like, I feel like it's just saying that this series of behaviors is somehow transmitted to the next generation. So we need to keep all these babies, in, or I can't, well, I can't fathom what it
I
is.
mean, I mean, I guess my thing is, how are you even going to monitor it
Yeah.
once they're out? You
So
know,
just
if you lessen
take
my
your
sentence
IUD and then slide
you,
on. Right?
that is not right.
No.
That is not right.
So what's the purpose of it at all? Because if I'm in prison on birth control, nothing should be happening in prison anyway. So
Especially
once I'm
between two
out,
women,
it's
I mean.
you know, exactly. You know, hopefully you don't have any situations with the guards. Don't want any
that's true.
you know, oranges and
Well,
new
wait a
black
minute. Okay, I'm
situations
sorry. It
going
was a
on.
vasectomy for males and a 3 to 5 year birth
Oh,
control.
so it was for the men too.
Yeah, I mean,
So are you less stressed out by this now that you know this is an equal opportunity ridiculousness? Are you less stressed out?
absolutely not. I still think you are envious of our uterus.
Come on now.
But I mean, at the same time, it's still wrong. Like, guys, whatever
Agreed.
y'all can do.
See
I
how
mean,
you-
just
see, I was up here fighting for you, and you talking about guys, whatever.
I mean, because
snip.
like vasectomies are reversible.
IUDs are even. They're not even. It's
I
not
mean,
even a reversible
I know.
thing.
Right.
You just pull that
Take it
shit out.
right?
I mean, come on.
I
now.
know, but even still, it goes back to my point being that once you've served your time, you've served your time. Like, you don't get to have to me, this is just another form of, it's an 8th Amendment violation.
Well,
This is
here's
cruel
the
and
difference
unusual
between
punishment.
serving time and what you're talking about, because for this one, you already have time to serve. They're knocking off part of your time as part of kind of like a work release type thing. You work for us to not push out babies, and we'll release you a little bit early. So it's not really what you're talking
But
about.
who are they protecting? Wait,
These unborn children.
So are they?
They're protecting the
from
unborn children.
from the
Okay,
guards,
and
because
so-
who are they getting pregnant with if
And
it's
that's-
knocking
I
off
guess
time?
That's the
Like,
piece I'm not.
are
'cause
they
I'm like,
putting
once
it in
I'm out-
after they get out? Because that would be the only time it makes sense.
Sense, exactly.
Is to put
That's
it in
what I'm
after
saying,
they
like,
get
well,
out.
I think it
Like,
reduces enough to. I guess I'm assuming that
no,
the closer you are to
I'm
the time.
saying that if you're gonna get a 30 days, like, because the point is, they're not going to give a man a vasectomy in a jail. Who's he getting pregnant?
Exactly.
Nobody but a guard.
What I'm
or
saying-
he's not gonna give a woman an IUD in a jail. Who's she getting pregnant from
Exactly.
a female population
Yeah.
other than a guard? This probably is more than likely for somebody entering into society, which to me is still an unusual form of punishment, because I have served my time in that jail. That 30 days ain't worth 5 years of me. What if I said, you know what? I learned that I did not need to steal. I did not need to do whatever it was I did, and I'm ready to go and function. I want to build my life however I can. Maybe
You
I want to
can't-
be an
you
entrepreneur.
can't build life with new babies.
Wait, maybe I want to be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to go out and and do whatever I need to do. And you are now and now I might be violating my parole, or if I take out this IUD.
And you can't focus on building a new life if you're focused on little Tyrone and little Tyquelisha.
Building a new life might mean
You
a
just
fresh
can't.
start, meaning a nice man such as yourself.
Well, thank you. Say it again. It was so nice. You need to say it twice.
That was hard as hell to do. So, I mean, such as yourself. And so it could be like, oh my gosh, I meet him, he's nice. You know, what happens then?
Look, I'm bullshit. I can't really argue for this, but I'm assuming that the whole the portent behind it is to say you need to be focused on other things rather than getting pregnant, and more than likely, based on statistics, there is a higher amount of people that are unwed with children that are going through the system than there are in two-parent households. So if we can curb the amount of children that are being born to parents that are in and out of the system, then maybe we can start to change the system a little bit. This seems to be a more Republican way of thinking. It's good intentions, but bad execution, in my opinion. But
I agree.
That being said, we're going to talk about somebody else who had some, well, neither good intentions nor good execution. A man out in Oklahoma City by the name of Jerry Drake Varnell of, I don't know how to pronounce this, Sayre, Oklahoma, was arrested because he was out for blood when he attempted to detonate what he believed an explosive-laden van outside an Oklahoma bank in a plot similar to the 1995 bombing of the Oklahoma City Federal Building. This man said that he was upset with the U.S. and he was going out for retaliation. I don't understand, because he's saying he's upset with the government and seeking retaliation. You're a white guy living in Oklahoma. I don't know what could be so wrong with your life that you need to retaliate against the whole government. Just be white. Just go out, be white, and be free. I think that's the best thing that America can do for you, especially right now.
I think you're denying whatever his experience is. That's all I got.
Oh,
That's all I got.
ooh.
That's
Am
that's
I
all
oppressing him
that's
and pulling the race card on this young man?
All I have to say is you may be denying his experience with America, and that's all I got on it.
Well, what I want people to do, Casey, is I want them to start calling people that look like him what they are, and that's domestic terrorists. And that's really the only thing I can take from this. I mean, it's not a mental illness. It's not just a mental illness. It's not a poor, underserved person that's been misguided. This is a domestic terrorist, and there are others that look like him running around the streets.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I hate to kind of pull the race card there a little bit too, but we all know that if this young man had been any other race in this country, that they would have already said exactly what it was, and as opposed to trying to use anything else, any other kind of niceties or nice terms that they like to use, kind of when it's one of their own doing something versus just being a domestic terrorist, like you said, which is exactly what he is.
Out of the mouth of the babes comes the truth.
I don't understand. I don't get people, and I don't get him. I mean, I just, what I hate to say is these damn millennials. Like, you're so damn disgruntled. Like, not you, but like, I don't like, what entitlement issues do you have? Like, you're basically, all he's done so far at 23 is go to school. Like, okay, let me stop. Maybe he's had a hard life.
Yeah, you don't know what kind of meth he was taking. I mean, Oklahoma, that's meth capital right there.
But in the standard scheme of we're just being a regular 23-year-old, and let's just say there aren't any traumatic life experiences that have happened to him thus far, the most that he would have done is gone to school and get a part-time job. Like, that's at most. I don't get it. Like, I don't know what he has to be upset about, but he's a 3%er. He's tired of the government doing what? Like, letting you go to school for free? Like, I don't understand. My tax dollars are mad at you, sir. What is he going on with? Like, what? Well,
I know we got to get some coins in, so why don't you tell us about what's going on with our Facebook users?
Well, hi, Facebook. Just wanted to let you know we're asking if you could subscribe to our show on all major platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Review our show in iTunes with constructive feedback. Share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your friends and family. Donate to our mission to being enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can donate and help us at www.thesphere.tv/donate. So remember, you guys, not only are we able to bring you this riveting content every week, we would love it if you help make sure that this program keeps coming to you by donating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing this so it can get out to more people and they can enjoy our guests and my co-host and learn about new topics that are coming on.
Indeed. And I want to remind everybody that this portion of the show is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education? 33%, or more than 77 million Americans, don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say that they don't have enough savings. Don't become one of these statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463 or email them at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask them how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance is the new face of the new age of financial services. Now, Mr. Trump is always in the news, and his entourage is always in the news. They're doing some pretty scary things in conjunction with Jeff Sessions. The Justice Department is demanding information on visitors to an anti-Trump website. It focuses on a website, disruptj20.org. Essentially, they've put out subpoenas to request all the information from this website to hunt down the people that are on this website that want to disrupt your president. The problem is that the Dream Host, is taking issue with the warrant issued because it's asking for all files related to the website. And they say, the Dream Host says it would compel them to turn over electronic data like visitor logs that would include IP addresses and other information that could be used to identify anyone who visited the site. So for them, it's overly broad, and it's basically a fishing expedition in giving them information on every single person who's visited the site. To what end is my question. I mean, why do you need to, and how petty of a president do you have to be to want to single out individuals that are looking at ways of being politically active, even if it's against you? I just don't get it.
I mean, I think we all here can probably agree that your president is very petty.
She's
right?
pointing
And
at
he
you,
has,
Alicia.
but I'm looking at you.
Well, you
But
Please.
but I mean, it's just a complete and unnecessary invasion of privacy. I mean, what purpose does it serve? You know, we are in the United States of America, where we're supposed to have, freedom of speech, where we can, express ourselves the way we want to express ourselves.
Exactly.
If I want to visit the website, I might not have even been a part of, trying
Whatever.
to
I just
be
might
in
have
the
been interested to see what was going on. Like,
exactly. And so
maybe I
to
clicked on accident.
right, and to put the internet service provider in such a position where they're having to even question whether they should release all this information of the people who visit their site, who've trusted them with their information by coming to their site.
Absolutely.
It's just, I mean, it's
think
crazy.
our data privacy is slowly being chipped away enough as it is already. After Congress went ahead and, allowed our internet service providers to sell our information. Before there was government action that said, no, you can't. Now, we have an ad tailored to everything for us now. And so we now are piggybacking on, like, I think it just goes to show the level of this man's insecurity, that he believes that by somehow targeting Americans exercising their right to freedom of speech is going to enhance his presidency. I mean, what are you going to do when you find this information and you found out we don't like you? Like, what are you going to call me out at a rally? Like, are you going to call my job? Like, I'm trying to understand what this man thinks that having this information, I mean, is he going to start trying to get robocalls to turn me over for the next, I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, but I wouldn't put it past him because he's super petty and he probably would try to take my life and everything. Not but livelihood, I should say, because I don't believe he's a killer. But, just
not a killer, but don't push me.
I mean, but I do believe that, it's just going to show that not only is he obsessed with being bad at being the president, he is also obsessed with the fact that he believes that there is this, well, there probably are some people out to get him, but that the thought that if he can get to those who want to take him down before they take him down, he'll never go down. Like, sir, you need to go get Mueller's IP address and all of them attorneys that are working for him, because those are whose IP addresses he needs to figure out what's going on with that special counsel. Because one who went to your website who said, I don't like Trump, is not doing what the special counsel is doing to take you down.
Well, it's also a danger constitutionally, because you're talking about the expectation to a right to privacy, and you're invading the privacy rights of citizens of the United States by saying that there's not even been an allegation of actual criminal action. Right. It's the suspicion that they might be doing something further down the road, which I don't even understand how a judge, we usually have to have probable cause for a search warrant to ensue, how we get there. And it's scary to think that all it takes is a mandate by the president to, because he's not feeling comfortable with something that a group of people are doing, to easily, by the stroke of a pen, invade your privacy, take every piece of information about you. We're afforded certain protections. Even if we are doing criminal behavior, there's a certain way to go about finding out about that criminal behavior. We're protected, so to speak, in our criminal behavior by the Constitution. And all that means is that if you're going to go after somebody, you have to do it the right way, because this isn't a police state we live in. We don't live somewhere where they can just storm in and say, we feel like you might be doing something. Tell us what you got, beat you around a little bit, and then find out. That's just not the way we operate. Because if we did operate like that, this would not be the America that we think we live in. And so that's the scary thing. You know, it's a slippery slope that we go down. How far down the road do we go before we say this president in particular is going too far in his pettiness, in his inability to act presidential, and in his lack of legality in his role. You, above all people, as the president, should be the one that we look to say what's right and wrong. You know,
We already know he is no moral example, so we can't keep looking for something like it's kind of like looking towards that boyfriend who keep doing bad, and you like, baby, if you just change one time, if I keep sticking her, stop. He's not going to just let it go, and I feel like it's like that with the president. Like, you can't expect something from him that he obviously has demonstrated he is not going to do. He is not going to be a moral compass for this country. He is not going to stand up for what is right other than what is in his. So if what is right somehow aligns with his self-interest, we'll get what's right. But if it does not align with his self-interest, it's not. So I can't really say, like, I'm not looking to him to be morally anything for me at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and hit you guys again. I am, please, encouraging everybody, you need to register to vote. We have the 2018, and y'all, and I'm sitting here like sounding like a broken record, but dude, that's like almost a year away now. The 2018 election is just about a year away. And if we think about how quickly 2017 is gone, if we're already in September, we need to understand the power of our vote. And I keep saying it, nobody wants to take something away that's not valuable, right? So it's kind of like, understand the value of your vote. I hope all of you who are like, I don't know what voting's gonna do, isn't my voice? Okay, I hope you realize now that your voice counts, because we have this man talking for us who is not a representation of you. And I don't want to hear anybody that didn't vote complain about Trump. I don't want to hear you talk about but her emails that I could never find, that I never read, would probably have been better than what we have now. Yeah. So
unfortunately,
we can change the future. We cannot alter the past.
Unfortunately, President Trump is not the only person in our history to be myopic, nearsighted, prejudiced.
Oh no! What do you mean?
Belief process. So it's gone on throughout the progeny of America. We've had it from its inception to current, and I don't think it's going to end anytime in the near future. That being said, we've got a statue of the justice who wrote the Dred Scott decision. His name was Chief Justice Roger Taney, was just removed from the grounds in Maryland. City of Baltimore removed the statue and 3 Confederate monuments earlier last week. This particular statue has stood for about 145 years. I don't, and people say, well, what's the Dred Scott decision? This was the landmark decision way back. This was an 1857 opinion by the Supreme Court of the United States that essentially said that Africans who came to this country as slaves, or were bought as slaves, were shipped over as slaves, were not citizens of the United States, could never be citizens of the United States, and it all plays a role, because we talk about Colin Kaepernick and people that fight and say, fighting for a flag that doesn't represent us in its totality. They were citing the Constitution of the United States at the time and saying that the Constitution was not built for African Americans, slaves that were brought over from Africa. I'm going to read a quote from it. It says, on the contrary, they were at the time considered a subordinate and an inferior class of beings who had been subjugated by the dominant race, and whether emancipated or not, yet remained subject to their authority and had no rights or privileges, but such as those who held the power and the government might choose to grant them. So this encapsulates everything that America was predicated on as it pertained to people of color. We were never intended to be on the same rank in the hierarchy of citizenry as the Caucasian American. And that's the problem that we have that ensues today. And back last week when Charlottesville, we had these riots, this fighting going on in Charlottesville. This is what it's all about. And we talk about, this was part of our history. You don't, in my opinion, you don't elevate and you don't honor history like that. You remember history so you don't repeat the bad acts of history. You acknowledge history, but what you don't do is honor the deficits that history has for you. And I think that that's what hasn't come across to the alt-right, the white nationalists, and they say, well, we have to protect our history. It's not about protection. It's about not putting up honorifics of things that shouldn't be honored.
I'm going to sit here and say this. Where I'm from, and maybe it's because it also is a country that was along the slave route. I remember growing up and we have a huge monument, but our monument is towards Cuffy. And we call him Cuffy because he was the man that led the slave rebellion. So, I mean, it's not to say like we don't have somebody trying to, here's the guy that put all these people in, enslaved them. In my country, they decided the people that deserve to be honored are the ones who rose up against injustice. So, I mean, it is as tall as I can remember. I remember looking at it when I was a kid and like, who is this person? It's a man in African garb and everything. And all I remember is, my mom would tell me like, that's the person that led the slave rebellion in our country. So they made a monument of him. And I think it is so the antithesis that in this country, we have monuments of men who wanted to enslave people, and it's kind of it's an affront, and it is just basically a shame to the people that are here. And and I think some of the reason why they're taking these things down in the middle of the night is they don't want a Charlottesville in their town at all. Like, that's it. Like, they don't, because I'm keep thinking like, why all of a sudden are they so comfortable? Like, why are they snatching? Like, everywhere they're snatching statues. And I just realized like, it's because they don't want to bring that element. It has nothing to do about whether or not they care about the KKK. It has nothing to do with their personal beliefs about either being a white supremacist or somebody who supports equal opportunities for colors or for people of color. It is more so about we can't deal with the economics of what this will bring to our community or our campus. So rather than deal, we're just going to take it down. Like, I don't see it as we're standing up for, against white supremacy. I see it as this is going to bring an element to our place that's going to blow us up in a way that we are not comfortable with, that it's going to have to taint our city in a way, even if it's going to unleash this, covert racism in our community that we now have to deal with, that we're comfortable with covert racism, but we don't want outright racists. And that's going to change the perception of whatever it is, whatever institution, whatever city. And they don't want that. So I don't really think it's like a pledge to equality. I just think it's more of like a practical business sense of why they're doing these things.
Well, Casey, I want to get your opinion on this, but I want to disagree just a little bit with what you said, in as much as the fact that you don't think that they're doing it for any other reason than because they don't want that type of publicity going on. I think that there are people within the government that want what I want, that want what you want, but it takes a catalyst to get the ball rolling. Well,
around that time too, and all them.
Everybody then doesn't necessarily have. Just because the civil rights movement happened doesn't mean that it was.
But it's the same premise.
Let me finish. Okay. Just because it happened doesn't mean that everybody was on board with it. Just it's like slavery. When slavery was abolished, it was abolished, but that didn't mean that we just loved black people all of a sudden. Change and change of prejudice happens over time. And it happens in stages. And I think that now we're at another stage where you have a little bit more enlightened majority that are taking on the role of saying what we've been doing is wrong. I think that there's a lot more in the majority of saying that we can't continue the actions of the past. But the people with the prejudice always speak louder than the people that are wanting to do right. And I think that in this particular instance, we have all it takes is a few people to stand up to say, you start that slow clap. And then all of a sudden, well, you slow clap. Well, damn it, let me slow clap. And then all of a sudden, you've got an applause going on. And I think that's what's happening, at least with these statues, is that in addition to the fact that you don't want to have the all-out fighting, and let's do it in the middle of the night like New Orleans did, we also have the people that say, well, about time, finally, I can do something. Everybody's not going to be the courageous hero and be the first to start. But there are those that have enough fortitude to say, well, if it's starting, I want to be a part of the process. What do you think, Casey?
I think that you've both raised some very interesting points on this topic, and I feel like I'm kind of in the middle on it, because I can see kind of both sides in terms of, from the standpoint of, yes, sure, it does take, having a couple of people to get things started, to get the ball rolling, and to get people into action. But at the same time, we know that we live in a very what's the best word to use? We know that at the end of the day in America, the dollar speaks, right? And that's a lot of what motivates a lot of the decisions and actions that take place in this country. True. So I'm of the opinion that it's not unbelievable to think that a lot of these cities are now pulling these statutes and doing these things as an attempt to avoid any type of Charlottesville situation in their own backyard. Because even you look around, we have statues being removed, but if you look around the country, there are certain statues that had never even been built that I think should have been built for individuals who have done amazing things, for this country. One situation in particular that I've always found interesting. My family is from Montgomery, Alabama, and in Montgomery, of all of all places, they do not have a statue of Dr. Martin Luther King in the city, and that is the only city where he was pastored there. That's where he was before leading the civil rights movement. So you're looking at, I think there's a lot to look at in terms of what's kind of going on with these different symbols in the country, because it is almost like, why now? Why all of a sudden is everyone wanting to?
And so, Brennan, I can give some of what you said credence, I guess, but it's more so. Why this is not a struggle that is new, and I think and I think I read it in a meme today. It was just like, so nobody's having a wake up call about race relations. Y'all just kept heading snooze. Like this is just snooze going off one more time. So
no one is saying that this is some novel idea about taking down things, because quite frankly, if you're willing to have people like Justice Taney, if you're willing to have the gynecological doctor who ripped through black women in order to come up with new ways of treating the female reproductive organ, why wouldn't you then also have somebody like a Malcolm X, who's just as pivotal to a major part of history? You're willing to have the pacifist part of Martin Luther King, but not have the Malcolm X's. You're willing to have in Atlanta a street called Confederate Way, but where's all the Union circles in America? So there's just times in history where somebody takes a stand and then the rest will follow for us at specific times. And each jump gets us a little bit closer.
I will just say, time is, I love to say, time tells all tales. So we will just have to wait and see what this truly is. Because I believe when we're older, and I'm talking about 30, 40 years from now, we'll be able to look back on this and say, I believe this is what was truly happening at that time, because we're living in the moment, we're digesting it, and we're trying to see and what all that means as we're going through our world, knowing how we interact with it. But I think that, once we get older, we'll be able to have a bird's eye view of exactly what this was, what point in history, and whether or not change really occurred. Because like I said, only time is going to give us that option, and nothing else.
Well, and 30, 40 years from now, we may not even have the same type of America that we see
exactly
today. You've got the League of the South that wants to secede again and restore the Confederate States of America, potentially triggering what some might argue is a second civil war. How likely is it to happen? I don't know, but every day I get a little bit closer to thinking it's really a possibility, depending on how, because again, that minority that's way out there on both sides is a relatively small minority. But when a minority group starts to pick up a little bit of that snowball force, you start to see some of the moderates say, well, it's not all bad, and their side kind of helps us get to where we need to go, as we see with the Republican Party bringing in Donald Trump, because, well, he doesn't really represent what we need, but he will help further our agenda in its total. And then we have this president who's bucking the whole system, both Republican and Democrat. So when you see something like this splinter group that says we want to secede, is it likely to happen? No. But will it catapult us into another more modern race war? Potentially.
Let me catapult us into
Go ahead,
letting
segue.
people know that this portion of the show is sponsored by The Sphere. Are you starting your business or looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States, as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv.
Well, after that, what can I say? Not much, but I do want to talk about the fact that there's a question on my mind. And well, actually, before we get to that, I want to talk about a little bit more.
Is this? Wait a minute. Is this going to upset all parts of my spirit, or am I going to stay?
This next part of news will probably irritate you a little bit because we're talking about the women's reproductive organs and all that kind of stuff. But 2 Texas officers were just cleared after subjecting a black college student to a body cavity search, what her lawyers are calling in a ongoing lawsuit, rape by cop. This one is a little bit of a tough one. Charnesia Corley was engaged with a couple of officers who thought that they detected the smell of marijuana. After their initial search yielded nothing, they went on and said, well, we're going to find something. And the dash cam says that they said, oh, we are going to find something, even if we have to put our hands on her. They then proceeded to take down her pants, leaving her naked from the waist down in a Texaco parking lot. They took Miss Corley and placed both ankles behind her ears, spread eagle position, and started to search for something in Miss Corley's cavity in her vaginal area, is what her attorney, Sam Kamek, told Fox 26 Houston News. I don't... And again, I have to go back and say that the cops were actually cleared of any criminal wrongdoing in this case. I think that there comes a time when the drugs aren't worth it in terms of what the cops should be looking for. And when I say that, do your job, do it diligently, but not at the expense of the humanity of somebody else. And I think that in this case, there was definitely a different way that they could have gone about doing this. And I want to say that one of the officers, Ronaldine Pierre and William Strong, I think William is a man, pretty sure. I can't tell. I don't know if Ronaldine is a woman or a man.
Ronaldine sounds like a woman.
But
yeah,
it seems to me that there's a different way that this could have gone about it. And honestly, right off the bat, I don't know, especially if the woman was the one actually doing the cavity search. But moreover,
yo, why are you doing a cavity search outside? Like, wait, what is going on here? What is going on here?
So here's a question for you legal minds. Do you think that a warrant should have been required for a cavity search? Because you have the probable cause is there because you have a plain smell exception, meaning that if an officer,
but they searched her and didn't find anything.
If an officer smells marijuana on your person or in your car, they're allowed to search where they believe that smell to be located. So if they
smelled it inside of her. They were like, they smelled it so strong on her that they felt the need to go.
Then she needs more than a gynecologist.
Y'all need to douche it out. I'm just saying, I don't know what's going on with this girl in her cavity.
Brennan,
if she's got smoke coming out.
Brennan, I'm not going to allow you to do this today. No.
I'm just saying.
No.
But I do think that on a serious note, that when it comes to that, and because just like with a car, you're allowed to search the interior of a car. However, you have a heightened expectation of privacy in the trunk of that car.
Absolutely.
So you have to go above and beyond to go from the body of the car to the trunk of the car. I think that same type of heightened extension of privacy should also exist from your outer person, your pockets,
Right, to your inner person, your very
person
private
and
inner
and
person.
your crevice.
Well, wait a
Right.
minute. You know,
But no,
first
not your titties. Your
well,
titties
I
are
mean,
not
no,
that bad.
I was more so like verklempt, like not trying to touch my person, like I was touching myself like in awe and shock. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, like I don't believe that. First, you gotta have some good probable cause to believe that you have to see me like we saw her swallow some.
Exactly.
You know,
So I'm
we
like, how-
saw her digest. We saw her take down her pants and move around, and you know,
Absolutely.
but
You know what I mean?
first of all, she did win the battle, Batman, because you searched her and found nothing. So what we
But
gonna?
then they searched her some more and found
No,
something.
that is definitely. I mean, and then they dropped the charges on her. So I mean, first of all, wait,
they dropped the charges, they're like,
wait. I'm sorry.
this
I'm
looks
sorry. I'm
terrible.
sorry.
We're
Like,
just gonna go ahead and
like
let you go.
anytime an officer tells me that I got to take my pants down, we might just fight. Like, I
Then
just,
you're gonna be trying
I,
to
you know,
resist
no, I don't
arrest,
care. Just,
assault on a
you know
police
what?
officer.
And
That's
then
bad.
I'm like, I just don't. I don't know what
My
else
sisters.
I don't know
My
what else you
sisters.
want me to do.
All right.
But I'm just
No,
not gonna
it's
allow
not
you to
happening.
sit there and violate me as a police officer. Like,
On
Did
the
it-
side
did
of
it-
the road.
Well, would it
Why they,
matter
like-
if it was a woman doing it? I mean, does it or
Absolutely not.
so it doesn't even matter?
No. No, in a situation,
she should
you
have
know,
not
like
have
this,
done
no.
that. Yeah, like
No,
first of all,
male, female.
what are you-
I mean, that's just so invasive.
Just the nature of the cavity search itself. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman doing it. You don't care. It's the cavity search itself.
it's not like they stopped her and they were like, you know what, this road is known for drug traffickers, you know, digesting stuff, and we always find somebody shitting out something. Excuse my language. But you know, it's not that case. They pulled the girl over. They thought they smelled marijuana. They didn't find anything. First of all, was her vagina smoking? Because that is the only reason why I would think they would even need to do that kind of cavity search.
Look,
I mean,
what
what?
could have happened? Hear me out.
No.
Is they
Little hypo.
they start patting her down. We smell something around you. Well, I don't have anything on me, officer. Look in my pockets. Look at my hands. Look, ma, no hands. And then they say, okay, fair enough. Officer could have dropped his pen, his tablet, as he's reaching down to pick it up. That mid-level area. Well, that odor is a little bit stronger in this middle region. What you got right there?
Are you for real right now?
I'm just saying that could have been.
Are you for real right now?
I'm just
And so
trying to
I
be
want you
as
to not be
I'm
for
just
real
trying
right
to be
now.
that
as
would justify pulling someone's pants down in public on the side of the road.
So I have
Because if you
in
feel
all
it's
honesty,
there, put her in the back of the car
Or
because it's
it's
not
not
going anywhere.
Well,
Get her to the
and
station.
in all honesty,
And have someone do it
Yeah.
there. Exactly.
from a legal perspective, in all seriousness, I do believe that there are times when a cavity search
It's
is
necessary. Yes, you're
I
correct.
also believe that
This was not one of them.
this is
Right.
not one of those times. Well, the problem that I have with this case is that if there's nothing other than the fact that they smelled marijuana around to suggest that they knew exactly where that marijuana would be. I think this is just as invasive as a blood draw. And for a blood draw, unless you are consenting to that blood draw, it requires a search warrant in order to get it because it's an invasion of your inner person in order to get that blood draw. And I don't feel
They
like
coulda
it's
gave her
any
an
different.
STD.
Well, I don't know how many STDs are on your
I
fingertips.
don't. I mean, I don't
You're-
know.
you're
I
being
don't
real
know.
ridiculous
You
at
see
this point.
Usher, so I mean, we don't. We don't know. We
Okay.
don't. We have
you,
no
You
idea.
have a doctoral degree. Come on. So I do think that they should have gotten a search warrant
Mm-hmm.
in this case because if it's in there, unless it's going to slide out, and then I see what's that gooey little package
Where
you
do
got
you
right
wait?
there.
So
You know,
I think we're done with this one.
I'm just saying.
We're done with this one. I'm going to
just
be the
saying.
voice of reason and say we're done with this one and all come to the consensus that this cavity search of this woman should
out of line.
never have happened.
Right.
in certain instances.
In this, we said in this instance.
this
I said this
instance.
in this
Okay.
instance.
Yes,
We all
absolutely.
agree.
Fair enough. Well,
Yes.
since you're gonna be done with the subject
I mean,
all
just-
willy-nilly like
Oh
that,
my
let me
gosh.
go ahead and get us some coins and let you guys know that this portion of the show is sponsored by Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming practice that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. we're committed to the finest possible oral care and the overall health and well-being of our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. Through our commitment to modern dentistry, continuing education, and friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that they are part of our family. Dentistry can be scary, daunting, and uncomfortable. Dr. Baptiste and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort. Make your appointment today with Dr. Chandra Baptiste at Elite Dental Wellness at 713-789-8680. So, ladies, there's something now we can get to the real interesting conversation. Well, everything's been interesting today, but there's a question on my mind, and the question is this direct file law, which talks about the juvenile justice system, and direct filing meaning that as a juvenile, you can be direct filed as an adult, and skipping the process of going through the juvenile justice system and going straight to the adult penal system. It goes on all across the country, depending on the severity or the heinousness of a crime. Prosecutors can decide and choose if they want to charge a minor as an adult. My question to you is that should this direct file system even be in place? Because and I go to one of your arguments, Alicia, when we've talked about consenting. Sexual consent as in terms of statutory rape. And you talked about the fact that younger people aren't mentally capable of making those type of grown-up decisions. Mm-hmm. If, in your opinion, they're not mentally capable of making such a decision as sex, how can we then put them on punishment, so to speak, for their decisions that they made that have grown-up consequences, but made with child minds?
So with trying a child or a juvenile as an adult, I think there should be kind of like an age limit. Like, okay, if you're 16 and over, we get that you probably should be tried as an adult, because at this point you've come in contact enough with the real world to know that some of the consequences to your actions, even if not knowing somebody, seeing a movie, seeing something on the news, understanding some of those consequences closer to the age of adulthood, I can see that. But if you're talking about like you're trying a 13-year-old as an adult, that just does not make sense, because now you've just basically relegated this child to a life that's going to just be prison at that point. There's no real rehabilitation for them. They are just going to go straight in and get this harsh sentence with no ability to probably change their life at some future time and be a contributing member to society. Like if you're 16, 17, just you have had enough life experience to know that if you stab somebody, there's a quite good possibility that they might die. And if they do die as a result of your actions, you probably were cognizant enough of that age to go through the reasoning sometimes as to what has happened. You're a 13-year-old. They have hormones going on that don't even make them think all the way. I mean, if you think back to 13, all you did was get mad at your parents. Like that's all that happened.
13-year-olds in 2017 are they're
another breed.
They're another breed, unfortunately, being thrust into a world with the same limited capacity that they were in in whatever, and more so not limited capacity as that they're stupid, but they're being thrust into a world with the same set of skills at 13. Mm-hmm. So it's like more was coming at them now than it was maybe 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. That, maybe
I'm kind of with Casey on this. I feel like you're giving these 13-year-olds too little credit. These are little bitty adults walking around in some instances. I think that people mature at different speeds. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. So in that maturity, different actions are taken. Some children are very content when they get mad with throwing something and then going to play video games. Other children, where their maturity is at, they get mad, pick up a gun, and go on a mass killing spree. I don't think that I'm hard pressed to believe that the person who threw a tantrum and threw a toy should be afforded the same type of punishment that the person who went out and shot up their peers or some other people.
They're thinking from the but
Well, everybody think.
I'm not sitting here saying that killing people is good and just because you're 13 you deserve a pass. I'm saying that they're coming from the same place of reasoning. Like they are coming literally from the same place of reasoning. It's their actions
But Alicia,
that are different.
Everybody,
And
so
I'm
even
just-
as adults, though, Alicia, you have people that make different choices that come from the same place, but the way they deal with those choices, because and you can agree with me that even as adults, some people are more developmentally mature than others.
Okay.
As two 20-year-olds, one is going to be silly, still thinking about dumb stuff. The other one might have their head saying, "Look, I've got a family I need to take. I've been taking care of my family since I was 12 years old. I can't do those type of things." So even as adults, they can come from the same place and be in a different developmental place. So, but we don't afford those two 20-year-olds with a gradation.
No. I don't mean the same places, and we're coming from the same neighborhood.
No, I'm talking about mentally. I'm talking about hormonally and developmentally. At 20, we don't put a gradient on, well, where did you come from? And so should we really treat you the same way we're going to treat this other 20-year-old? No, we don't do that.
No, I'm saying cognitive, like based. Because I like to equate it to, I remember when I was younger.
And 18-year-olds are still developing cognitively.
Yeah.
And
So
even
should we? I mean, where does it stop? Because
So what is the point of their question? What do you want to do then, Brennan? Like, because I'm trying to understand where we're going here then.
Well,
are you with it or are you against it?
Well, I personally feel like I don't like to see a 12, 13, 11, 10-year-old's life completely gone. However, part of the problem is that as the way it stands right now, as a minor, once you hit that 18 mark or sometimes 21-year-old mark, then you're free no matter what you did. I think that there needs to be something in place, even as an 11, 10-year-old. I don't think you necessarily need to be tried as an adult, but you need to be tried for the severity of your crime. And the severity of your crime needs to be commiserate with that
So
punishment.
if you were like, if you're
depends.
10 and you killed somebody and you was going to get 25 years at 18, you need to get 25 years at 10.
I think
is what you're saying.
I think the determination needs to be the same.
Okay.
You can go to juvenile.
Well,
and live that
look, if
juvenile
you just
life.
want to have them age in juvenile, then age into the adult population. I mean, that's literally what would happen.
Unless a psychologist gets up on the stand and says that this particular child, and not children in general at the age of 10 operate like this, but this particular child didn't really understand the ramifications because there are some 10-year-olds who understand the ramifications of their actions. But if they say that this particular child was not developmentally savvy enough to understand and appreciate, because to me that's the same as an adult that's mental incompetence, not being able to appreciate and understand the nature of your actions. We have a word for that. It's mental incompetence for an adult. For a child, it's simply just being a juvenile. And so I think unless you have that specific determination for a child, they should be treated commiserate with their crime.
Okay.
And that's how I feel.
Okay, great. I'm not gonna fight.
See, she got that too going on.
No, I don't have a toot. I'm just literally like, okay.
What do you think, Casey?
I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you on this point, only because, as I was saying, previously, age is, nowadays, kids are introduced and exposed to so many things. So it's difficult to say that a 13-year-old, now may not necessarily know or be exposed to as much as a 16-year-old, because it really does depend on, your environment, your particular situation. So I think that from a practical standpoint, and being able to actually enforce something like this, you would almost have to look at the actual crime they committed versus just looking, only at their age.
Because, and I think part of the difference is in these direct file cases is that even before guilt and innocence has been established and punishment is at issue, it starts off being filed as an adult case. And I think that's my problem is
You just don't want them in the adult population.
I don't want you to don't just start them there for the sake of it. The severity of this crime is such that, you know what, we're just going to charge them as an adult. you like you said, you can.
But you are in essence still charging them as an adult. It's just where they serve their time. Like you are in essence still charging them as an adult.
Well, and part of it is where they serve their time. But if you're charging them as a child,
they're just in juvenile until they get into
until
the
they
adult
age out,
population.
and then they get to walk out. And to me,
so
that's the problem. That sometimes
you just want where they are to be different than where they start,
right? And or maybe even at the 21-year mark, they do an evaluation, a real good, they mark these children as they go through the system to see how they are actually progressing. If you're progressing like you're going to be a sociopath, then maybe we need to keep you in
but
longer.
at the same,
how are you going to say that a kid is progressing to be a sociopath?
But even still, I mean, look at
they're still cutting little children in juvie.
But I'm still gonna say like that's not the ideal conditions to mark progression of anybody. Being in prison, I mean, yeah, you can act and you can do as much as you can do in prison, but that's not truly the best way to say that that's true demarcation of somebody, because what you're putting them in is an isolated place where I could, if I were to be a sociopath, just condition myself to do exactly what you want me to do until I get out and kill everybody.
Well, there's always going to be those who are able to beat the system. But what I'm saying is not just mark their actions through, but testing. I mean, do a slew of things need to happen if you reach that 21-year mark.
So what you're asking then is for them to be developed in juvenile, for them to get an education, for them to get a vocation, for them to get a skill, and then at 21
we
to
reevaluate
get a GED if they can start doing what.
Well, hopefully by 21 it's not just a GED.
I mean, and I'm saying and do some college credits if they're offered, and so
then reevaluate them at 21 and say, where are you right now? And maybe we need to institute. We'll bring you back into society a little bit more, or no. You aren't where we need you to be, so we're going to keep you in here and put you in the adult prison or maybe a transitional facility for the next 3 to 4 to 5 to whatever amount of years, because again,
like a parole house.
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly.
I'm just asking questions.
I'm just spitballing here.
Look, you're giving more answers than I'm giving at this moment.
Well, that's usually the case. But
today's show was brought to you.
Who are me to judge? Yes, Casey. Anything you want to say on that?
On that last point, no, I think you. I for a moment there, I was a little conflicted in terms of what position you were taking on it, but I think I'm seeing where you're coming from, and I'll stand by my previous statement that in terms of the
stand by me, girl.
In terms of the
please allow the people to come back.
In terms of kind of looking at the actual crime that's committed itself, but I do agree that it is premature to just say that because of this particular thing that you should automatically be tried as an adult when you are a juvenile. Well,
there you have it, the brilliant mind of Casey, the lawyer who works with the business folks and the entertainment folks. I just want can I touch the hem of your garment so maybe a little bit of that can rub off on me?
No. What
is that, harassment?
No, yes. I'm not going to allow this.
Did you feel harassed?
It could be a little bit too much. She does not want her
until she said harassment. Was that even on your mind? See, this is what happens. The black man stands alone against all these black women.
You're now creating an incident that never happened.
There will be no statues of you, Alicia.
I don't want any.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our time on Injustice on the Sphere TV. Casey, I hope you've had a great time with us. I've thoroughly enjoyed you.
I've really enjoyed you guys. Thanks again so much for having me today.
Really glad you're here. Please come back. Don't, just ignore him.
Anyway, I'm your host, Brendan Dunn. You can reach me on Twitter at Legal Mind. That's mine with a Y, because there's always a question to be asked and answered. Alicia? And I'm Alicia Ford. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ali on Sphere. And Casey, where can they find you? You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that. I'm the same everywhere, Handy-Smith ESQ. All right. That's pretty handy. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. Hope you have a great day. Goodbye.